Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Free Agents podcast. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by Brandon and Andrew, and we are excited to talk to you about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff has happened since episode 1, namely being we are officially undrafted free agents. We have entered the unemployment workforce and have graduated from New York University. So if you're listening to this, please clap at the same time because, our achievement needs to be properly recognized. Um, Speaking about that, the graduation ceremonies were quite interesting this year, to say the least. I think that Zoom is not the greatest platform for large social gatherings. I can start on my perspective. It felt a little bit weird to be graduating on my couch. In the edited clips version, if there's a clip here, I'm going to be inserting a picture around here of myself on the couch graduating because it's quite a funny image. But certainly an interesting time. There were some very cringe moments of the ceremony. I can talk about them if they're not brought up by either Andrew or Brandon, but those are my thoughts. I think that it would have been nice to have a little, more of a pat on the back, but I'm incredibly vain. So maybe I am unique in thinking that, but
No, I don't think you're alone in that. Don't worry.
No, you're definitely not. I
Dope.
mean, here's the thing, right? For Brandon and I, it was pretty early in the morning because the first one happened. What was it, 9 a.m. our time? Something like that.
I think it was
NYU was
9 a.m.
11.
Or,
It was 8
8
a.m.
a.m.
then. It was 8 a.m. then. So that's pretty early already. And then they had I get the tradition of the bagpipes, but bagpipes blaring through my computer screen or my computer at full volume at 8
At
a.m.
8
was
in
not
the morning.
not a good way to wake up,
rough.
dude. It was rough. But then the other one, we had two, right? Because we have the full ceremony, the NYU one, and then we had the SPS one. But the SPS one was at 5 a.m? 6 a.m. Because it was 9 o'clock. It was 9 o'clock. Yeah.
6.
I woke up at 5 a.m. for it. Again, just not a happy I understand it's on New York time, but man, it was rough if you're on the West Coast. It's so
Yeah.
did you
It's
even wake up
horrendous.
for that, Brandon?
I did not wake up for that one. And actually
there you
the
go.
first one that was at 8 a.m. I had an alarm set for 7:55 a.m. Just woke up, did it in bed, just had my computer screen open right next to me. And I just heard bagpipes for 10 minutes in the morning. And just contemplated, why did I even wake up for this? So I slept.
You definitely couldn't go
one.
back to sleep. Yeah, you
No.
couldn't go back to sleep after the bagpipes. I mean,
Also, do we know the significance of bagpipes for New York University?
I personally don't. I think that
I
the
don't.
telling example was that my dad, who also went to NYU, had no idea that this
had
was
no
a thing.
idea.
So either this is a new Zoom only thing, or it's been a thing. It's just you forget about it because you're too busy getting lit with the homies at graduation. So I think another reason why we're pointing out all the weird things that happen is because it's very easy to point them out when you're not overtly focused on anything else. You're just staring at a TV in your living room, or on your in Brandon's case in bed staring at your laptop
That's
you would
fair.
be doing a Zoom class. But again, the whole point, we are undrafted free agents, hence the name of the pod. We are excited to continue to look for our next team, get a contract from someone. But until then, we have been undrafted officially.
We have been undrafted.
There's been plenty of good
we didn't even get
undrafted
Mr.
talent.
Relevant.
Exactly. Plenty of undrafted talent. So we believe we can be the steal of the draft.
Hey man, all we need is an opportunity.
Exactly.
Starter goes down. The starter goes down. We get signed to injured. We get signed as a backup to the backup. You never know what happens.
Just practice team even at first.
Yeah, practice squad.
That's what an intern is, right?
That's essentially what the internship is. It's a practice squad. It's a 10-day contract.
They get paid around the same too. So I think that that's actually a pretty good analogy where it's next to nothing. But I don't know many interns that at least I was familiar with that were operating out of the trunks of their car, which a lot of practice squad players have to do. So
it's true.
We will be employed. I am manifesting that. All right. Moving swiftly on to the exciting action of the fireable offense of the NBA play-in that we discussed at length in the first episode. To start, I don't think that guy is getting fired. I think he's getting promoted.
Definitely not.
He's probably getting promoted at the end of all
He
this.
100% deserves a raise.
Judging by the ratings, judging by the reaction, people crave elimination games, and all the play-in did was create at least 4 elimination games with 2 of the most high-profile teams in the league. What's that to say that the Warriors or Lakers would be in the play-in next year, and it wouldn't just be Grizzlies, Mavs, and Spurs, Pelicans? Because then you could argue the play-in is a little bit, all right, who wants to watch those teams? But the ratings were encouraging. What was also encouraging was the actual games themselves.
Well, they were good games. They were.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will also have to say, if you listen to the first episode, I made 4 out of 4 correct picks.
That's true.
You did do that.
And
we are going to keep a running tally now. And I'm 50%. Yeah, I'm 50%. I was 2 for 4.
75%.
So what we were learning here so far, listen to Matt, maybe listen to Brandon, just ignore everything I say on this podcast.
You still got half of them right.
I did get half of them right. I did. Here's what I'll say though, right? Because I always like to see like a good upset or whatever. The play-in so far has really just been the same order as the teams that were coming in to the playoff anyways. Like there hasn't been any upsets. True. So if the Warriors win tonight, I mean, my point before about having 4 playoff games, like it's too much. Just put 2 against 2 because what we've seen here is like the standings are pretty much what we thought they would be. So
that's true.
They would be exactly
do you think
the
there's
same.
any impact to having fans there? Because the home team has won every single game so far.
Oh, I definitely think home team
seating wise, they are the better teams too.
I think it definitely takes into account like home team, like home court advantage, but like I don't know. From what we've seen, like the teams that won, they've been the better team. So I think the only one that you can maybe argue was like the Lakers Warriors game that came down to that ridiculous LeBron 3 that he hit. But like
some very questionable
flops.
Not even flops. It was
should have been a flagrant on James.
The referee stats where the Warriors were 1-14 when officiated by that certain referee crew, and Lakers were 10-0. And if you look at the crew for tonight, the Warriors Grizzlies, it's almost the same direction with the Warriors, where I think they're like 11-1 with Scott Foster, who's the ref for tonight. So it seems like the NBA is now reverted back to we need to let's get these guys into the playoffs. Which I can understand, because I don't think people want to see it would have been Memphis and San Antonio, or you would put the Lakers in a position where they would just not make the playoffs at all. But the fact that it's like that egregious, and like you can look those numbers up, is again a little bit questionable to me. As someone who wants the Warriors to win, I'll let it slide. All is forgiven if
it's all good.
They can win tonight.
Exactly.
Get the 8th seed.
But the fact that like that even exists calls into questions the legitimacy of everything else. Because if they're willing to like just assign refs to games that will determine the outcome, pretty much, like if you're 0-10 or 10-0 and 14-1-14, like those are not like middle ground answers. It's not like it was like 7-8 and 10-0, because that's okay, variance, whatever. But this is like clear polar opposite splits. Like it's very obvious.
Well, it's like that. It's like the thing, like on Twitter, there's that umpire scorecard. Yeah, the report card, that account. I mean, like if you're a baseball fan, go follow that account because they're great. But like, it's one of those things where it's like it affects the game so much on how it's umpired or officiated. It's like almost ridiculous. So I think that also has a factor in it, other than just like home court advantage or if it's a better team. But I mean, when Jason Tatum scores 50 points, I mean,
I said you can't start Alex Len and Daniel Gafford and Robin Lopez at center on purpose and expect to beat Jason Tatum. And he scored 50.
Yeah, that's true.
Because all he had to do was beat his first defender and just take a layup every time. And he was hitting threes, like he was hitting shots all over the place. But
He
the
was.
fact that he knew that he could blow by anyone he wanted, like he got his confidence early and was just able to knock down everything he wanted.
Well, it was
That's
also
true.
like it's amazing because like the team as a whole did not shoot that well. I mean, they shot 39%, but like only Tatum, Kemba had 29, and Thompson had 12 points. Tristan Thompson had 12 points. So those were the only ones in double digits. Like the fact that they were able to pull that off, just kind of like Jason Tatum's ridiculous. We all know that. And that's like, if anyone doubted him before, that you shouldn't doubt him anymore. Whether or not they'll beat Brooklyn in the playoffs, in that first round.
But that's gonna be fun to watch because you get to see Kyrie play in Boston for the first time in front of fans
with the Nets' big three all together.
Cool.
It's gonna be cool. I think if the Celtics want any chance, that they're gonna need to give Tatum more help. He's gonna need somebody else to step up other than Kemba giving him.
Yeah, I don't really know how much of a chance they have this year just with Brown's injury, but
That's true.
For the future, they're both still so young.
If Kemba can be Kemba again, like it seems like if he can drop, 29 in the play-in, and then if he can maybe average over 20 a game, they just need like a couple of bench guys to step up every game and they can compete. Because at the end of the day, like the Nets defense is still very suspect.
Well, and those three, those three haven't played together a lot, so
that's true.
They're still. I still think they're trying to figure out like how they're going to make everything work.
And just playing against the Wizards defense, I feel like that prepared them for that Nets defense too.
The Swiss cheese that is
the Swiss cheese defense.
Wizards defense.
Exactly.
The Olay defense.
Well, it's just like if you're thinking about like the closing lineup for the Nets, because that's where I think these games are going to come down to. Like it's going to come down to like the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, like who's going to get stops. And like, of course, like KD, when he wants to play defense, is quite good. But the only problem is he's going to be playing center for the most part in those closing lineups, because Blake is not a center. You can put him at center and say all you want that he's playing backup center, but he's not a center.
But he's not.
He stands at the 3-point line. And he's, sadly, bless his soul, he doesn't have any knees anymore. He's just very, very injured. And I have a hard time believing that Jason Tatum is not just going to eat on whoever. Again, it's even worse than having Robin Lopez and Len, because at least those dudes are tall. They can stand and be a big body in the paint. But like Blake Griffin is not an intimidating body to have in the paint. I would even argue that KD to an extent is not an intimidating body to have in the paint, because he's tall, but he's a very lanky guy. So like Tatum can take that contact and go through it. So it's going to come down to those final 6 minutes, but I think the Nets could also like be up 20 going into those 6 minutes. So those don't matter. They could win by 10 still. And it could come down to the fact that Kyrie, KD, and Harden are the three best isolation scorers in the league. One of like three of the top five. I'd put Steph in there, so I can't say the top three, but it's just crazy that they're all on the same team. But I wanted that Russ revenge series, but
the revenge series
not to be.
Hey, but it's okay because the Celtics. The Celtics just have an easy way to stop everyone. Just put Taco Fall in at the center. Who are you gonna match up with? Who you gonna match him up with? Just feed him the ball up top.
Mike Breen called him Taco Bell. So
I like that.
Oh man.
Clyde was like, "Are you hungry, man?" And he was like, "Yeah, I need some Taco Bell." But I mean, again, like we got one more play in tonight, and then we got the real offs starting, I think, in 2 days.
With the Warriors playing the Grizzlies tonight. So, I mean, we'll look ahead to that one.
It'll be a dogfight for sure, especially because Dylan Brooks is going to want his revenge, because I think that he saw that the Warriors bench was chirping him very hard when he fouled out, because he was a menace the whole night. No one can deny the fact that he was, hounding Steph, and Steph has a hard time with guys who are annoying, the Pat Bevs of the world, because they just constantly foul him and they don't call it. But I think Dylan Brooks poses an interesting threat, because he can also like kind of score a little bit. Like if he doesn't come out of that game in the fourth, when he fouls out. Like he had just scored, I think, 8 points in a row by himself.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting like two-way scenario because like Pat Bev is not a scorer. All these other guys like usually aren't scorers. Tony Allen like was left unguarded, Draymond style, and that's why teams would
elite
win
defender
series against them. One, I mean, incredible defender, but just not
a two-way.
useful on offense.
Yeah.
So that'll be, I think, the matchup to watch, obviously. But another intriguing matchup to me is the Looney versus JV, because Looney is a little center. He's not a big man.
Yeah.
Jonas Valanciunas is a very big man. So if there can just get some box outs so he doesn't get like 10 offensive rebounds, that's going to be the game right there. Because they're just going to have Warriors are going to have even amount of shots and they're going to make more of them. But the reason why the Grizzlies have been able to be successful is because they have guys like Valanciunas and Brandon Clark, who has been playing very well, but even Tillman off the bench. They got these athletic, like young bigs who can snag boards.
Yeah, I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. too. You didn't mention he's 6'11", but
he's not really on the offensive glass.
That's
he's at
true.
the 3-point
That's
line.
true.
So
he's taking a lot of threes right now.
Against in the Spurs Grizzly playing game, he had 23 points and 23 rebounds. So
double Jordan, Jordan.
Be able.
Well, the thing that's interesting for me about this game is like we've just seen the Warriors play the Grizzlies in the last game of the season, right? So we've already gotten pretty much a preview of what this game will be. But against the Spurs, I think like the Spurs showed a lot of ways you can beat the Grizzlies, especially in 3-pointers and free throws percentage, which like that the Warriors were doomed in the second half of their Lakers game because they kept fouling. They got into serious foul trouble and they were turning the ball over a lot. But like against the Spurs, the Grizzlies were 31% from 3-point range and 54% from free throw. That's abysmal from free throw. Like the Warriors won't have to worry as much about free throws like when they're fouling, but I mean, obviously you don't want to foul them too much, but like in the first game, they shot 24% from 3 against the Warriors and 78% from free throw. So you're not going to have to guard the 3-point line that much. They don't have a lot of shooters. So I think if they, they can, if it's going to be a shootout, they're going to run the floor. They're going to be fast paced. The Warriors are at least. So I think, I don't know. I see a lot of problems for the Grizzlies in this matchup. Championship pedigree of Draymond and Curry, obviously. And that first half of the Lakers game just showed how good they could be.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like the Grizzlies are still like very young. They're not incredibly talented. Like they have Ja and Jaren and JV and, I'm not going to say Dylan Brooks because he's like a solid role player, but they got a bunch of guys who can scrap, but they can't shoot. They were like 24th in the league in 3-point shooting. The reason they win is because they are on the offensive glass and they just have more possessions than you do. So if you can control the offensive glass, which for the most part, the Warriors were able to do until that first 6-minute stretch in the fourth quarter when the Memphis in the last game where they were able to come back. But, they were down by 9 early and then they decided to start trying and, the game was pretty much over until the fourth quarter. So, Warriors got their work cut out for them as long as they don't throw the ball all over the place like they did in the third quarter against the Lakers. I'd say that they're pretty much a lock to win. Unless there's a good shooting performance from Ja or Dylan Brooks or Jaren. Like if one of them goes off, it's going to be very difficult to keep up just because the Warriors don't have a lot of scorers. Like they have Steph, and that's kind of it. Like Draymond scored 2 points against the Lakers.
Well, Wiggins had a good game.
Well, Wiggins has been playing his best basketball, I think. He's been the most efficient, and this is his most efficient and like best stretch of basketball since Oubre went down. Like you saw it in that first half against LeBron, where he locked down LeBron in the post. I mean, he had a great first half, and then kind of, I don't know, it might be a focus thing.
I would argue his second half was also just as good. He just didn't have as much energy on offense because of all the effort he was expending on defense. Because he was still playing good defense on LeBron.
He was.
It wasn't like LeBron was like now all of a sudden making shots on Wiggins. Like he was still missing.
Right.
But
and it's LeBron. Like
he just started like running straight at people because he's like
exactly
6'8", 250. And like he can do
things
that no other athlete can do.
Yeah.
Like,
if you were his size, you would do that too. Like I wouldn't be taking threes. I would be just
I
going to the
would.
hoop.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's like 2K.
So-
Make a crazy guy who can just dunk on everyone, and it's
Literally.
well.
Well, speaking of
NBA
video
playing.
games, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
video games?
Speaking
What
of
are we
video
talking about?
games,
Oh.
the baseball season has been interesting.
Yeah,
With Shohei
He
being a
is a video
freaking
game.
ridiculous. He is
He's
a video game like,
character. Yeah.
he's a
You-
creative player.
you know how
100%.
you know how like people are like, oh, Stephen Curry is like a video game like come to life during his MVP seasons. No,
Yeah.
like Curry was doing things like past a video game that you could never do in a video game. Shohei is exactly what you do in a video game. Leading the league in home runs, leading in ERA, or for his team at least. Like he's just been absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I'd say the funniest part about all of this is that up until this year, like this edition of the MLB video game, you couldn't even be Shohei. There
No.
was no option to be a pitcher or a hitter. So
Yeah.
everyone talks about like, oh, like he's putting up video game numbers, but he's putting them up as like two separate players, essentially. Like the
Yeah.
video game numbers, you would have had to have done this with two different people, but he is all of that in one person. And you know that
Yeah.
he's causing a lot of buzz when like Stephen A and Max Kellerman on First Take are actually talking about baseball. Like
That's
that
true.
is
Which
something that
never happens.
you never see, and something you would even never see when they talk about baseball is them to be impassioned about it. That's something that is incredible for me to see as someone who's always liked baseball, because it seems like they kind of only give the juice to, you know, basketball and football and like the occasional fight or something. But
Right.
see them giving the juice about like Shohei and having that actually generate buzz is very interesting to me, because I think that, you know, ESPN, Stephen A, they're taking note. They're seeing what's happening with baseball. I'm like, all right, people are watching this. Let's talk about this a little more. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens. See how these people like the content. And it seems like people do.
But like that being said, also it's just been a weird season. Like
Oh, I mean,
in
COVID
terms,
Definitely.
has done that. I'd say
yeah,
that the beginning of the NBA season was like also just as weird.
that's true.
You know, once I think things will return to their normal, but I think there's just a lot of teams in baseball that people either underestimated or didn't properly look at before the season started. Like the Giants are the easy example just because they're the best team in baseball by record. And everyone was like, they're going to win 75 games. But, you know, you can look at teams like the Twins. They're the worst team in the league, and everyone thought that they'd be the best team in the Central. You know, you can look at teams like the Mets have kind of figured it out of late, but they haven't looked very good. And people thought they were genuine World Series contenders. The Dodgers are really hurt, so I can't say that they're not good.
Yeah,
but
not a fair assessment.
They're like
there,
a 500 team as of now. They're hot of late, but they were pretty cold for I'd say 3-4 weeks. And then I think another reason why the season is so unpredictable is because people are, you know, the game's being played a little bit differently, because the whole play loud stuff is like finally happening. Like people are doing stuff that is exciting. So the games are more exciting. Sadly, there seems to be managers in positions of high power who are not in favor of these changes, namely the 80-year-old Tony La Russa, the manager of the Chicago White Sox, who came out of retirement after already being in the Hall of Fame to manage the White Sox for the first time since 1986. So for reference, I would say almost all of the White Sox players were born when he managed the White Sox the last time. So he got upset that his star player, one of his stars, Yerman Mercedes, I'd say in the running for best name and one of the best players in the league, hit a 3-0 47 mile per hour ephus from a position player into orbit, just 440 feet. And first, discounting the fact that he even swung at that pitch or hit it out, the fact that you can hit a pitch that is that slow, 440 feet, is genuinely impressive. Because when you think about it, if the ball's being thrown 95 miles an hour, like you're going to get some of the velocity back from the pitch. But 47 is it's like practically not moving at that point. So if he's creating 80 extra miles per hour, like that's just an impressive swing. But the fact that his
It's
manager
a
would,
very impressive swing.
yeah, the fact that his manager would then go into a press conference after the game and be like, "Oh, he was disciplined. We don't do that around here," and then defend the fact that he was thrown at the next game.
Thrown at,
Yeah.
that
Yerman
was
thrown
just,
To
behind.
me,
and,
that's the worst part.
yeah, and he said
Is
like,
that
I
he
don't have a
defended
problem.
that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them throwing at my players. That's a fireable offense. He should get out of the dugout. If you haven't seen the CC Sabathia clip on this, please watch it, because that's what my sentiment is. I just don't want to say it the way that he did, because he did so artfully that I could not properly convey his message. But it's, for lack of a better term, it's just a very Bush League way to handle it. And you can't do that if you've been a manager for this long. I feel like him of all people would have known to protect his players, and it seems like he just doesn't give a single shit about his players or anything like that. It's all about the archaic nature of
the respect
sacred
of the game.
3-0 take.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I think,
and also you can go.
Go for it, Bren. No, go for it, Bren.
Okay. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, the players, they get paid based off the numbers they put up. So if, like, putting yourself in the perspective of the player, if you get a soft pitch on a 3-0 count, just if you can hit that out of the park, do it. Why not?
Right. I mean, Mercedes is playing on a league minimum this year. He's 28 years old. Like, he's playing basically for his future and like for the future money. Why would you tell him not to try? You know what I mean? But like, baseball is in a weird place right now where they don't have an identity. They're kind of like in the middle of two, right? Because you have like the old regime of players who are like, respect the game, but you have these new guys like Tatis and, Mercedes, who are just like, let's have fun with the game, right? Like, the game is meant to be played the way the game is meant to be played. Let's show emotion. Like, Bauer has no problem with, bat flips and all that, but he's like, if they can bat flip, let pitchers like pump their fists when they strike a guy out. You know what I mean? Like, let's make baseball at least like have emotion in it. But there's like, they're clashing way too much right now, I think, in the middle, and they don't really have an identity. And I think it's either going to go one way or the other, but I think it's better for the game to go, like, let them show emotion, let them play. Like, why would you want your players to stop trying? I've never understood that. Like, they're trying to make their own money and they're trying to do the best they can. Like, if you're not playing to win, like, why are you playing professional sports?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say two final things on this topic. I think number one, the most indicative thing about where the game is going was the fact that MLB immediately posted the Yerman home run on social media. No thought about it. They said, this is a bomb off of a 47-mile-per-hour pitch. This is a highlight. They didn't delay it. They didn't say any sort of weird caption about, it was a 15-4 game and Yerman Mercedes decided to hit a home run. How despicable. I didn't see the reaction from a lot of players as, this is horrible for the game. I can't believe he did this. And I also think that the old guard, for the most part, is just managers. I can't say I've seen a lot of players that are like, oh, that was so disrespectful. And even I think the Duffy guy who threw it, Tyler Duffy on the Twins, there's been history of the Twins just telling their pitchers to throw at people. There's a Phil Hughes clip on the Pardon My Take podcast with Barstool where he said that the manager just told him, all right, you have to hit this guy when you come into the game, and he missed twice and got tossed. So that could have just been directed from the manager or from somebody higher up in the organization or, somebody on the team. So this is all to say that I really do not think that any player cares that someone's hitting a 3-0 nuke in a 15-4 game, because the fact that you put a position player on the mound means you already didn't care about the outcome.
You've already conceded. If you're putting a position player on the mound, I mean, you've already like said, okay, we're gonna give up here and we're gonna let them, hit off of our position player. I don't see the point of getting angry about it.
Exactly.
You've conceded.
The Russa final thing that he said on it was, I think someone asked him in a press conference, what are you doing the next time there's a position player on the mound? Because now, it's like, what is he going to do? Because he's obviously pissed that you swing.
Just let him strike you out. Like,
so his thought was, all right, if they put a position player on the mound, I'm going to just send pitchers to the plate. That was his response.
But that's, again, if baseball wants to, well, if baseball is like really worried about, their fan base, like if they want to attract more fans like the NBA or like compete with these other leagues, like make the game more fun. Like, everyone loves to see bat flips and these kind of like crushed home runs, and like it's a social media like powerhouse now. It's social media drives sports,
Definitely.
right? So if you're gonna post this on your social media immediately and see the reaction and like have a positive reaction to it, why wouldn't you want that more? I don't understand why you would hold that back. And like it just seems such like backwards thinking in terms of like you gotta move with the times. And if you're not moving with the times,
Yeah.
you're falling behind. So yeah, I
No, I
take issue with
definitely
it.
agree.
I think you should be fired. Like,
Well,
personally.
baseball's also looking to grow the game, attract a younger audience. I mean, just strictly speaking from my own personal experience living in San Diego, like my whole life, you really didn't see that much Padres stuff until now with Fernando Tatis, just how exciting the Padres are. Like during the Slam Diego stuff, everywhere you go here, you see Padres stuff now. Like
Yeah.
Tatis, there are murals of him just like painted throughout San Diego. Like the entire city is so excited about having Tatis and the Padres now, whereas before, like you'd only see Tony Gwynn stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's super interesting to me about Tatis, and we could talk for so long about this, is that he's never played a full season, yet he's already being treated as if this this baseball savior has come down. Like, he's incredibly good. Don't get me wrong, but you know, he has like not good injury history. So I'm now more concerned that, you know, he could become like the alternate Steph Curry timeline where his ankle issues never subsided and he was never able to become the Steph that he was and like make the game of basketball at its height like so commercially viable. So I'm just excited to see what type of dumb shit Tony La Russa does next, because he already got the DUI before he got hired.
Yeah, it's true.
He's already doing this in May, and the season doesn't end until September. So
it's a long season. It's going to be a long season for the White Sox, and like Tim Anderson coming out and like defending Yerman.
They're so good too. That's the craziest part. They're the best team.
That's the insane part. They're a good team. Like, they're a very good team. But yeah, we're going to see the impact of this and how that plays out, I guess.
I am excited and disappointed at the very same time. All right, Brandon, hit us with your betting picks, and then we can wrap it up.
Really, right now, all I have is one lock. So this is for tomorrow. I say you should take the Vegas Golden Knights minus 120 money line against the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota. So this is obviously for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which is arguably the best playoffs in all of sports. But the Golden Knights have won their last two games against the Wild 3-1 and 5-2. And last game, they actually outshot the Wild 40-16. And the Golden Knights have been perfect on the penalty kill throughout this series, and special teams in hockey, very important when it comes to the playoffs and these close games. So I really think you should take the Golden Knights against the Wild. Except Matt and Andrew, you guys actually placed some bets on the play-in game tonight, I heard.
The Warriors Grizzlies.
I lost my betting virginity tonight. And
so did I.
Hopefully it is a positive experience, because as soon as you get into the red, it's probably very hard to get back in the green. But my bet, sadly, the first one I wanted actually got removed because I think that they realized that it was too easy of a bet and the odds were too good. But I have Steph, if I'm remembering correctly, Steph to score more than 40, Draymond to have more than 10 rebounds and more than 10 assists. The original bet was that plus the Warriors to win at way better odds, but I'm hoping that my $3 can turn into $21.
Yeah, that is to say we're not betting like hundreds of dollars. It's like $2 and $3 bets, first of all.
Also, we're also not betting, if anyone's asking, because we are not in states where it is legal. This is all purely hypothetical.
True.
That is hypothetical. I would be betting $2 on each of the teams having 26 points, 26 plus points in each quarter, which I think is a very doable thing for the Warriors and the Grizzlies. It's plus 1,200, so felt like, that's probably a very safe bet considering the two teams that are playing each other in a playoff mentality. So
Yeah.
I think the game will be exciting tonight. Hopefully, you guys are listening to this before the game happens. Little pre-game listening, maybe even viewing on our YouTube channel. We got
if
lots
you
of
want
ways to
to.
consume. We'll put some clips up as well on our Instagram. All the links will be in our link tree, which I think is on the Spotify page. But we're excited to keep putting stuff out. I would say that we anticipate our next episode to come out on Sunday, the 24th of May. So look out for that in your Spotify. And we're excited to maybe get some guests on here and talk about some other stuff. We love sports. Sports are great, but so much more to life than just sports.
It's not all
and
about
being
sports,
unemployed.
Man. Yeah.
Exactly. We can talk so much more about
being unemployed.
my job spreadsheet that we can just go through.
Ooh.
Give some scouting grades. We're always open to suggestions. So
I think everyone who's listening should definitely let us know if you want Matt to release his job spreadsheet.
Yeah, I will. I'm happy to go through that and screen share that on the next pod. I think that we'll see a lot of red on it, sadly.
Yeah.
And what are you gonna do? As they say in The Sopranos, life sometimes just treats you poorly.
Are we gonna end every
true.
week on a Sopranos quote? Is that?
Oh, I mean, don't tempt me. Do not tempt me.
I feel like
There's
we could.
So many good ones.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Hey,
I don't
They're
have
all
any.
applicable.
We got to have an executive meeting to talk about that. We got to see if there's any copyright issues. But we thank you for listening to episode 2.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the advertisement in the beginning. If you got it, if you don't have a podcast, make one on anchor.fm. And we'll catch you guys on Sunday.
Yeah. Talk to you guys on Sunday. So
Thank you for listening.
be good. Thanks for listening.